it's not the end of the world if you stop at Tim Hortons and your kids get farmers wraps. People who are so rigid when it comes to the food that it's almost like if you even dare go into a McDonald's, it's like the end of the world.
Welcome to the Dad Central Show, the podcast that helps overwhelmed dads conquer stress, build confidence, and become the father their family brags about. Join Drew Solon, a leadership coach and father of five, and Ed Gow Jr., a fatherhood advocate and contributor to the Good Men Project, as we guide you through the journey of fatherhood. We'll show you how to connect deeply with your family, manage your time and energy better, and master tools to become the dad you want to be. Let's get started. What is up, everybody? It's Ed Gow Jr. from Dad Central. And a gentleman, every time I see him, I don't know if I'm going to get a beard, clean shaven. I don't know how many days growth we get, but what's up, man?
Hey, it's Drew Solon, apparently the man of many faces, according to Ed Gow Jr.
Ooh, see, you came up with a title this time. I didn't have to do anything.
That's right.
That's good. That's good. Well, we are back, and you are watching Dad Central, a podcast, parenting podcast to reduce stress and build confidence in fatherhood. And also, our show is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. Dove Men Plus Care believes that care is the best of a man because when men care for themselves and others, there is positive impact. So, if you're a dad, have you ever felt like mealtime is chaotic, a chaotic mess, and nutrition is just another thing on your to-do list? Well, today we're going to be taking a look at the dad diet, healthy eating habits for busy families. We're going to cover 3 different topics. We're going to talk about the problem of eating on the go, also simple strategies at work, and then finally, mindset shift and real talk. So, Drew, before we get into it, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, so I have an undergraduate degree in kinesiology. I grew up in a household that typically had organic foods, and some really good
Very
food
nice.
selection. My mom went to a naturopath, way back before naturopathic became very popular or more mainstream. So I have a little bit of a background from that, and of course, I've been involved with sports or physical activity training. I was a certified personal trainer, so I've gotten my own lived experience in this. So, but I'm also now with 5 kids and a busy household, and age getting a little bit up there in my maturity, we'll say, rather than my age. I'm recognizing how challenging this is, and I find it's something that can easily slide. Right? It's like good habits, bad habits, and anyway, so I think it's good conversation. It's timely, both from my own personal circumstance as well as hopefully as you get into the fall and school routine and having to manage schedules and different things. I think it's always important.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And just to add here, a little stat. Surveys show that 70% of dads say time is the biggest barrier to healthy family meals. But we're going to get into that with today's episode. So let's first talk and get Drew's take on the problem with eating on the go. And I don't think you have that challenge with 5 kids, do you? Oh,
Well,
boy.
is this my personal problems or the actual just the challenge itself of what are the options available to you when you are eating on the go? And so
Mhm.
I would say the problem with eating on the go is that most of the convenience, quick, affordable food options actually are filled with a lot of unhealthy ingredients. They're fillers, preservatives, sugars, high glycemic type of response foods, and or deep fried, saturated fat, just not really good stuff that if you're consistently consuming those, they're going to have a compounding effect over your lifetime. So the problem for me is that challenge. Of course, then it's with 5 kids. Guess what? We're going to stop here. Well, I don't want this. Well, we'll go here. I don't want that either. And there's this, how do you please everybody because there's so many differences. Then, of course, there's the time constraints. Sometimes in terms of it's just busy. So how do you navigate a short period of time to be able to prepare food to then be able to serve the variety of food that's needed, that's healthy or in a way? So I think if we're focusing just on eating on the go, the layers can sort of stack up, I'd say. So for me, the and obviously we're going to get to it, it takes a lot more energy and a lot more planning. And of course, when you're already depleted, it's kind of hard to do that. So I think there's some definite challenges of eating on the go, or sometimes with this overscheduled life that sometimes find ourselves in with families that are busy and doing a lot of things. And these things can fall by the wayside. So those are just some quick thoughts. What about you, Ed? What can you share here?
Yeah, yeah, and it can be things like rushed mornings, drive-through dinners, picky eaters. Like once we go outside, probably within 5 minutes, there's some fast food place. I'm sure many of the people who are either listening or watching this can relate to that. And but we also have to realize the impact on kids' energy, their focus, and their long-term health. So this is why it's important that healthy eating is really, really important, because yeah, you may give them that snack, but if you keep on giving the long-term effects, we're not sometimes thinking about that. So I would just want to say with this segment ending it off that the key message is you're not alone, dads. Busy doesn't have to mean unhealthy. Anything you want to add on that, Drew, before we move to our next segment?
Yeah, I reflect on Adam Hart. He was one of our guests way back when, I think in like the first probably 30 or 40 episodes. And, he talked about becoming addicted to sugars and starchy foods when he was young, and how that really led to, his adult almost depression, because that became the habitual place he would go. Cookies, all candies, all these things were they became like his comfort. And his health journey to recover from all that stuff, and then begin shifting and engaging in a healthier lifestyle. So I think about that. The other thoughts I have are, it is sometimes challenging with all these dynamics going on, but there is so much evidence about the value of children consuming high quality food to their brain development, to their physical development. And one more anecdote from my life, if I played poorly in a game, my mom would always ask me two specific questions. She said, "How was your sleep the night before?" And then, "What was the food that you were eating? How well did you eat in preparation for your game?" And so, she was very wise in terms of understanding the fundamental elements of being able to be at your best requires those two things, sleep and your diet, because it's fueling your body. So I just think that the importance of it.
Excellent. So our next segment, we're going to talk about simple, and I underline the word simple, strategies that work. So, Drew, what are some simple strategies that work that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, well, just an example, I had to quickly make a run to Ottawa this morning, and simple, I still have some of the leftovers. So here's a fresh peach, right? So two of them, unfortunately, I didn't get to eat them on the road, but I had other things that were all from home that are all essentially whole foods. I had fresh vegetables cut up. I had a boiled egg for protein. I had a protein shake that was made that I was able to take and drink on the way. I had fresh water, and I had some cashews. Simple is, look around and make sure that you have whole, healthy, nutritious foods that you can pick up and grab on the go very quickly, as well as taking 5 to 10 minutes to actually plan in advance where you're going. So that's one simple thing that you can do. The other thing is, if you do know schedules in advance, it's always great to have, let's say, a prep day, right? So I remember when I worked in athletics, our strength conditioning coach would talk about, hey, for student athletes and talking to them about their nutrition. He's like, I do prep on Sundays and then I prep on Wednesdays. So I go, I cook a bunch of food on Sunday, package it up. And guess what? I've got meals for Monday and Tuesday all set to go, as well as Sunday night dinner. Then I do it again on Wednesday night, and then I've got food for Thursday and Friday. And then if Saturday might be my cheat day, my game day, whatever it is, then that's where I'll engage in my one time of maybe convenience food or something else. So this idea of being able to prep in advance, prepare good food, have it packaged, set aside, that's tremendously valuable, I'd say. The other one simple idea is to prepare a simple go-to meal. So for us, oatmeal, while it's not exciting, is one of the simple go-to breakfasts that can be either prepped the night before and just cooked overnight, or it takes literally 10 minutes in the morning to make, and you can throw a bunch of good things in the oatmeal. You can throw some fresh fruit, you can add nuts, you can add seeds, you can add all these different elements to the oatmeal. So to me, those are three ideas around simple strategies that can work. What about you, Ed?
Two more I'll add. And many of us has heard about the 80-20 rule. Well, it also applies with this. So dads, fathers, male caregivers, when it comes to healthy eating, aim for 80% nutritious, not perfection, but 80% nutritious. That is a suggestion that I have that, oh, not everything, because you can put pressure on yourself. 80% nutritious, and that will get, and I think that's good for all of us, not just the children that we're raising, but 80% nutritious takes that pressure of not being perfect. Like you just said a few moments ago, Saturday was your cheat day. Not every day was your cheat day, just one day out of the week was your cheat day, which is great. Another great idea is get kids involved when you're doing the meal prep, you know, because many studies show that kids will eat what they help make. So if you get them actively involved in the process of preparation of foods, that will enhance the opportunity of them getting to eat healthy, nutritious foods more often. So, just times, can do things like frozen veggies, pre-cooked proteins, put them away. So that go-to meal, as Drew mentioned before, it's easy, ready, accessible, less of a time crunch. Let's go to number three, mindset shift and real talk. Talk about that, my man.
Well, I think that this piggybacks on your 80-20 principle. And, there's, I think there's an important message there that, yes, it's important to eat well, but if you have to select an option that maybe isn't as ideal, that there isn't really a point in stressing about it. The beauty of our bodies is that they're tremendously remarkable in what they can and do go through, as well as their ability to heal themselves when we feel it well. And so, if you're 80% of the time you're feeling it well, this 20% is not going to be a deal breaker. Now, if you have specific goals or things you're training for or that you want to help your kids achieve, you can work built off of that and maybe get up to 90-10. But the reality is I think the healthy mindset is that, it's not the end of the world if you stop at Tim Hortons and your kids get farmer's wraps, or if you go to McDonald's and they want an ice cream cone, or these are the reality of that. They're there for a reason, and they can be a fun bonus. They can be a nice post game celebration. There are ways you can build these things in, and so, and the reason I say is because I've experienced either other families or people who are so rigid when it comes to the food that it's almost like if you even dare go into a McDonald's, it's like the end of the world. And so I don't think that that's necessarily healthy either. Yes, there are some unhealthy ingredients that you are going to ingest as part of this process, but if you are balanced, we'll say, I don't necessarily like that word, but if you are integrating healthy whole foods the majority of time, I think you're healthier. So, and as well as the healthy mindset. So I think those are some good things. The other thing we talk about is modeling. So if you're observing your children and they're not making healthy choices, the first place to look at is in the mirror. What am I modeling for my children? What are the choices that I'm making? Am I in when it's stressed? Am I stress eating? Am I grabbing junk food? Or when there's a lot going on, am I just like not willing to take 10 minutes to prepare some fresh veggies or some fruit that we can bring? And I just say, no, we'll grab something on the road. And I always grab the same unhealthy choice. Modeling our own healthy habits is ultimately the most important, as opposed to harping on or preaching that our children, you got to do this, you got to do this. But, dad, if your actions are speaking so much more louder than your words, you know that they're going to be following your actions. So those are some thoughts. Anyways, Ed, anything you want to add there?
Yeah. Before I give the key message for this point, many people think to eat healthy is expensive. It's not. It isn't. If meal planning healthy, a lot of people think, oh,
I'm
I got
one
to
of
spend
those
all this money.
people, Ed. So I'm interested to hear if you can sway me on this point.
Well, okay. So in the past, I've gone like on 30-day meal change. I won't call diet. I'll call it meal change. And I thought it would be really expensive, but to me, the change is more the mindset. It's a mindset change to eat healthy. A lot of people, oh, it's going to cost me all this money. Well, they're saying that because they haven't done it. So they're already making an assumption that it's going to be more expensive. When I did my latest, like when I did the first one, I go, it's not that expensive. it was the expensive part was my mindset change. That was the real cost. That was the real cost because and it eventually just became a habit. So I think that it's to get that mindset shift that it's not expensive. You may think initially, oh, I'm spending on stuff I haven't spent on before. But mindset wise, you're thinking, oh, but you're making a change health wise, not only short term with your kids, but long term. So again, getting yourself involved, being that best example, modeling the good habit, it's going to make everyone better down the line. So as I say, progress over perfection. Start small and build consistency. So key. Anything you wanted to add to that, Drew, after I gave my testimonial, so to speak, there?
Yeah, I think that, if you're simply making a shift from highly processed packaged foods to much more whole foods, we're having fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, whole grains, mixed nuts, seeds, lean proteins. Yeah, I think you're right. You absolutely can have some comparable costs there. I think where I see the cost is when you shift from more of a mass produced whole food avert to a more organic, local, those types of higher quality ingredients sometimes bear a significantly higher cost, because I think there's definitely a difference. And maybe I'm biased here, so I don't want to allow that to taint anything. The reality is, yes, you can eat whole foods, healthy, lean proteins. You can eat these higher quality ingredients for a reasonable cost. You can get a lot more of the crap at very bargain basement prices. Yeah, so
All right.
those are just some thoughts, and I agree with you. So let's go from there.
All right. So as we wrap it up, our takeaways. So want to recap. First of all, you don't need complicated meal plans to eat well. That's not only yourself, but your kids. Second of all, small changes make a big difference over time. And then thirdly, your kids will learn from what you do, not just what you say. So really, and now I want to add also to that, healthy family eating doesn't require perfection. Again, it requires intention and preparation. Then dads can lead the way with realistic, sustainable food habits. So realistic and sustainable, not short term, long term, and also can't deflate or not importance wise, very important. Engaging kids in meal planning can reduce stress and improve nutrition. So as we close out, Drew, anything you want to add? And do we have a resource for our family?
The only thing I'll add is that, making these small choices, like one small change, can actually make a positive difference. And so, a good friend of mine, he made the choice. He liked grabbing a salty, crunchy snack, and instead, what he did is he just switched out that one thing in his diet. So, okay, instead of grabbing a salty, crunchy snack that's in the package, I'm going to grab something that's crunchy, but it's whole food. It's a carrot stick. It's a celery stick. It's some fresh vegetable, and that one change was significant for him when he compounded that over time. Just start with a small shift, and we look forward to seeing how that can benefit you as well as the ripple effects in your family. In terms of a resource, we had a podcast actually with a registered dietitian, and this was around healthy diet, but it was also around helping promote eating, healthier eating, or dealing with picky eaters. So I feel like that's a great resource for, and we can just link to that in our show notes.
Excellent. I'll just end off one simple action for our dads. Pick one meal this week to upgrade, even if it's just adding one veggie for yourself and your kids. That would be our challenge out today. So, as always, want to say thank you so much for your time, as always. And thank you for listening to us. As always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. Take care.